Hello. Hi, dolls. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm whining about, I'm going to call it generational traumas. So, I had put up a story one time about how it was 6 o'clock in the morning and I was having my coffee and it was on the weekend. And this was a while ago. And it was very quiet in my house. And I was like, I do not wake up my children on the weekends. I let them sleep in because I enjoy my quiet time. And I said that I didn't understand why the older generations, my parents' generation and older, didn't believe children needed rest. What was that about? Like when I say no rest, I remember getting woken up at like 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and you got to clean. I just never understood that because, as far as I know, this is pre Fabuloso days. Comet worked at 11 a.m. just as well as it worked at 8 a.m. or worked at 2 p.m. just as well as it worked at 7 a.m. And I never understood that. And it just brought up a flood of things that I remember in my family and families that I grew up around that really brought on like this generational trauma in the sense that it took me forever to be able to rest in my home. So I'm filming this on a Sunday. Yesterday, I was in my pajamas all day. I putzed around a little bit, but then I woke up when I woke up. I'm an early riser, but I woke up when I woke up. I got my putzed around, got myself some to do something to eat, and then I got back in the bed and I dozed and snacked and dozed and snacked all day. I didn't shower. I stayed in my pajamas all day. I did brush my teeth because this was expensive. We were not allowed. We were not allowed to rest. And it's so strange to me. And they were just, and that opened the floodgates of people commenting. And I put on my TikTok several years ago some of the things that I was, that I made a vow to myself that I was going to change where my children were concerned. This is old Zimmerman. I found it in as I'm cleaning out my storage. Okay, back to it. And it brought up so many things that I remember hearing as a kid. You know, the children should be seen and not heard. Stay out of grown folks' business. Go in the room. And I, like I said, I made a conscious effort decision that when I had children, I was going to change those familiar norms. So even if it was tight for me, we had Scholastic Book Fair money. I remember my kids having class trips and me going and getting a deli sandwich and a drink and chips and packing that bag because I just didn't want them to feel, a certain way. And, being able to open all of the cereal in the house because I don't like that kind of cereal. You might not like the cereal that I like. And there were things that I decided to just not fight them on because I felt as a child I had no rights or privacy. And I know people will feel away. I remember my aunt was one of those, you don't close no doors in my house. I remember that. Go in your room and close the door because you know what? I don't want to look at you. You might not want to look at me. And I know one of the biggest ones was I hate to cook. I really do. But I did it for forever. And I cooked something, and that kid didn't want what I cooked, and they wanted something else that was in the house accessible. Eat it. I don't give a fuck. But I remember, if you don't eat this, you're not hungry. And I don't know why it's choking me up. Yesterday, when I got up and I had pasta and meatballs the night before, and I was talking to my daughter, and I was like, this pasta and meatballs was so good. I ate it yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, do you know you have free will? Because some of those things stayed with us. It's so crazy. Another thing I refused to do with my children was not be financially dishonest. So I remember being at the mall with my daughter. She was little. This was just when I just had her. And she was probably like 6 years old. And we're walking through the mall, and she used to love a little Barney. And you would have to buy the VHS tapes, okay? And I remember we were in the mall, and there was a particular store she used to like to go into, and we walked by that store, and she wanted to go in. And I was like, well, we can't get anything. And she said, why? And I said, well, I don't have money right now. And she said, use one of those cards you have. Let's have a seat. So I remember telling this little 6 year old in the mall a story about credit cards and what that means and how dangerous they, and that's just not what that means, and what a debit card, and loosely, because I was very honest on here talking about we were not, my family, we didn't teach, we were not taught like financial literacy. So I was able to give her what I knew, which was not very much. But I still was able to make her understand that that card is not just unlimited funds, and that unfortunately we can't get that. And so as the years progress with them, you've known me your whole life. So you knew that, even though you grew up in the era of my super sweet 16, you knew that a helicopter wasn't going to drop down and a Hummer was going to be outside. That's how long ago it was. Because I was financially honest with them. And there were so many things that I felt like growing up we weren't honest about. We didn't talk about. We weren't talked to about. We weren't talked with about. So situations that I was able to help my children navigate or make them comfortable to talk to me about. And I joke often, sometimes they talk to me about too much. But I got my information from the streets, which is why I had a kid at 19. And I felt that when I had children, it was my responsibility to talk to them. Another thing that we talked about was, what generational curse are you breaking? Therapy. We're no longer going to do that, pray it away. We're going to get therapy for everybody in the house that needs it. And the other thing, what goes on in the house doesn't just stay in the house. We telling, okay? If there's pedophilia, if there's incest, if there's alcoholism, if there's drug abuse, we telling. So that's what we're going to change. We're not going to do that anymore. We going out, we telling it all, okay? We're not praying nothing away. We getting therapy. Everybody is going to get it. You know what goes on in this house doesn't necessarily stay in this house. Because if it ain't right, it ain't right. I didn't play those games. You could not sleep over other people's house, but they could sleep here. Because I knew what went on in my house. It was just me. There was no man there. There was no drugs. There was none of that. So I was 100% comfortable with having people at my house. And I'll meet your mother. Your mother can call me. Your mother can come here and see, but you can't go there. I'm sorry. I don't know how nice they are. So some things I didn't break. We're going to stick with that one. But I also felt like if that I did feel like it took a village. So again, it was one of those, what goes on here, does it say in here, you mind your business, don't do. I remember my daughter had a classmate and the child was gonna run away. And my daughter told me, and I called her mother, and her mother cursed me out. Clean out. Mind your business. You don't know what you're talking about. Subsequently, it was on the news. She did run away and, it was a whole thing. But I tried. But I tried. But And my biggest thing was honesty with my children so that they would not have to be out in the streets finding things. So when I say to you, if something's going on and you need me to come pick you up, I'm going to come pick you up. And I did. My biggest thing was I need you to be honest with me so I can advocate for you. And I just feel sometimes sad for the young lady that I was because I feel like I was left to um, navigate life at my own devices. Like I really had, there were challenges there. I have two female cousins that are 6 and 12 years older than me. The one that was 12 years older than me passed away. My cousin that's 6 years older than me, she experienced life in a way that was, she grew up a little bit more well off than I did. Like she grew up going to like sleepaway camp and going back to school shopping at Alexander's and having a canopy bed. I dreamed of a canopy bed. And but she was outside back in the day and she's very honest about being outside and she was honest with me to prevent me from being outside. So she took some things on the chin so that I didn't experience that. And I always, owe that to her. But she was the person in my life that was honest. But she had to navigate things by herself, because the women in my family were my mother is very honest now. If I call my mother and I'll be like, remember such and such, she'll be like, yeah, so this is what happened. But back then you're still navigating being a mother, and she was just a girl too. And my aunt is the type of person that, do as I say, not as I do. And is one of those ladies that says things like little girl, and I'm like, I'm 50 years old, like what are we talking about? But so that's the kind of family that I grew up in. And I didn't want my children to grow up like that. Please be clear. Because people will be like, oh, you were trying to be their friends. Because I'll put you through a closet door. I mean, no, you know, but I wanted them to not, I wanted them to go out, and I still want them to go out and experience life, but still be comfortable enough to come back and talk to me and say, this is what happened, or this is what I was thinking, or maybe I should, or whatever, or however. And I remember my daughter's senior year, there was about, I think there were about 6 girls pregnant or going to be, or almost due, or had babies, or whatever. It was a lot. And a young lady that was her friend at the time, who subsequently has become a doctor, so that don't stop no emotion, was pregnant. I remember her coming and saying to me, what did you say to Ashley to prevent this from happening to her? And I said, I was honest. I was honest. And I think that there's so many things that you bring with you and keep with you and drag with you from your family and generationally, and that trauma that you may hold on to, that is can be so detrimental. And so yesterday really made me think about how sometimes I still think I'm 9 and I just need rest. And the grown-ups wouldn't let us. They would not let us. I remember that so vividly, and how that made me so angry. I just wanted to sit in the house on Saturday and watch some cartoons. And it was go to the laundry, take this. Like I felt like we never had a day off. And And that was one of the things that I made sure that I didn't do to my children, and wanted to make them be seen. So it's like Ashley doesn't eat bananas, doesn't like red juice. Mark likes apple juice. Nicholas only likes sweet tea. And if you think I didn't have all of that in my house, because they were they are all my children, but they are also individuals. And I felt like my childhood, we were not able to be individuals. And I don't blame them. I just think that that's how they were raised. And I think it's going to heal, that we're healing, that we're giving them the opportunity to heal and be better, and that they will have their children be better. And I hope that's true. Yeah, that's what I was whining about today, a little generational trauma. So, thank you guys so much for watching. And
Please like, share, and subscribe so you'll be the first to know when I post new content.
again, remember, just be nice. Be nice. But do me a favor, share some things you remember as a child that you were told, that you made a decision that for yourself or for your children that you were not going to do that anymore. Okay, guys, bye.